This video is for educational purposes only. So this week has been genuinely one of the most insane weeks in gaming history from a security perspective. And I cannot just make a video about how game cracking works without addressing what's happening right now. CyberLeek, whoever they are, has somehow gotten their hands on an actual playable build of GTA 6. Not just footage, not just screenshots, a full working build. And has been releasing clips while Rockstar and Take-Two scramble to DMCA everything into oblivion. They literally spelled out the word leak on a wall with bullets inside the game, just to make sure everyone knew it was live gameplay. We'll get back to this at the end, because the how is actually really interesting. But first, let's talk about how game cracking actually works, because without that context, the current situation doesn't fully make sense. Every commercially released game that uses DRM, digital rights management, has a piece of software whose entire job is to sit between you and the game and ask one question: is this legitimate? Sounds simple. Problem is, that question has to be answered by code running on a machine the user completely controls. That's the fundamental problem every DRM system runs into. You are trying to hide a secret inside a box you've handed directly to the person you don't trust. The biggest name in this space is Denuvo, and it's worth understanding what makes it different from earlier protections. Old school DRM was embarrassingly simple. One check at launch, verify a license file or a disk key, done. Find that check, patch it out, game runs forever. Denuvo doesn't do that. It wraps the actual game logic in layers of virtualization and scatters licensing checks throughout the executable, sometimes thousands of them, not just at startup. The strategy isn't to make cracking theoretically impossible, it's to make it take so long that the commercial window of the game has passed before anyone manages it. Pay for the game or wait 6 months. And for a long time, it worked remarkably well. Then came EMPRESS. If you've been in the space for any amount of time, you know the name. She became basically the only person consistently cracking modern Denuvo titles, doing it through sheer technical depth and reverse engineering skill. She had a whole system, crowdfunding specific games, releasing cracks on her own timeline. Then, in late 2025, she retired, citing health issues and disillusionment with the scene she'd built around herself. And for a while, the cracking world went quiet. Then, Voices 38 showed up. In March 2026, they dropped a proper crack for Doom: The Dark Ages, the first proper breach of a 2025-era Denuvo title without relying on hypervisor workarounds. That distinction matters. After EMPRESS retired, people were getting around Denuvo using hypervisor bypasses, essentially running the game inside a virtualization layer that tricks the DRM into thinking the checks are passing. It works, but it's messy, requires specific system configurations, and isn't really cracking Denuvo so much as tricking it. Voices 38's releases have been the opposite style: classic, direct, game-by-game cracking that doesn't depend on a separate hypervisor setup. Since then, they've cracked Resident Evil Requiem and pulled off a day-one crack on Lego Batman: Legacy of the Dark Knight. So how does a proper Denuvo crack actually happen at a technical level? The first stage is static analysis, loading the protected executable into a disassembler like IDA Pro or Ghidra. This alone can take days because Denuvo aggressively obfuscates the code, uses virtualization to transform readable instructions into custom bytecode, and makes the structure deliberately hard to follow. Then comes dynamic analysis, actually running the game inside a debugger and watching what happens at runtime. Modern Denuvo fights back against this directly. It detects debuggers and responds, sometimes by crashing, sometimes by silently corrupting its own execution in ways that look like normal bugs instead of anti-tamper triggers. Once you've mapped enough of the protection, the actual crack usually comes down to patching validation checks so they always return legitimate, emulating what a valid license server response looks like, or in the most sophisticated cases, stripping out the virtualization layer entirely and rebuilding clean code underneath it. Each approach has trade-offs in stability, which is why rushed cracks released immediately after a game launches are often buggy compared to refined versions that arrive weeks later. Now, back to GTA 6 and CyberLeek, because this is a completely different situation from what I just described, and understanding the difference matters. CyberLeek didn't crack the DRM. According to reporting, a second group claiming involvement obtained access through phishing a Rockstar employee, social engineering, not reverse engineering. They have an actual development build of the game, which means DRM isn't even in the picture yet. This is an insider access problem, the same class of attack that got Arion Kurtaj into Rockstar back in 2022, when he used an Amazon Fire Stick, a TV in a hotel room, and a mobile phone while under police protection at a travel lodge to breach Rockstar systems and leak 90 clips. He ended up sentenced to an indefinite stay in a secure psychiatric hospital. What's interesting from a security perspective is that both situations, technical DRM cracking and social engineering, expose the same fundamental truth. The weakest point in any protection system is almost never the cryptography or the code. It's the human layer. Denuvo spent millions building a technical fortress, and Voices 38 is dismantling it one game at a time through pure technical skill. Rockstar spent years protecting GTA 6, and someone got in by convincing an employee to click something they shouldn't have. Defense is hard. Humans are harder.
You still stuck in tutorial hell? We got full courses step by step as well. Web hacking labs, real attack flow. Not click here, actually break the code. Reverse engineering, crack moves inside. Gidra open, ego died. Bug bounty methods that actually scale. Find one vuln, that's grocery money mail. $29, that's it bro. Skill goes up.